You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Monday the 17th of February 2025. You're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, live from a hotel room in Sydney, where I haven't done an awful lot, to be honest, because I struggled to sleep. My last podcast feels like such a long time ago, even though it was only yesterday, because I recorded it in the wee small hours, technically. I mean, Singapore time it wasn't, it was breakfast time, but British time it was the wee small hours. You know, so I did a bit of, well, I finished writing the first version of chapter 41 there, and then what I've been doing since, at every opportunity, is just reading through it. So I'm doing basically my screen edit. I've considered doing a live stream of it, actually, just to motivate myself, but I'm not really struggling to motivate myself, because what I really want to do, I'm really quite keen to finish this this chapter before I get home on the 21st, which will then leave me a week to do the last chapter, which is slightly trying, but like I've said before, I know it's what was going to be the epilogue. So I mean, what I've done is I've created a 2-chapter epilogue, but it's much more satisfying because it's much more punch to it. It's much more resolution for the characters. As I say, I'm not going to keep repeating the moments, but there's moments that just weren't in it because I was jumping forward 5 months, which are now there, which are quite emotionally satisfying. And yeah, so what have I done in Sydney? Well, what have I done since I spoke to you last? So I tried to sleep in Singapore and failed, and I wasn't too tired at the beginning, so when I got up to do the flight, I was fine. In fact, I was fine during the flight, and it was a nice flight. It was about 7 hours and 20 minutes between Sydney and Singapore. Was quite tired by the time we then landed. We got a decent break, actually, which is quite nice, and I went and sat down. There's a place you can go on the plane, on this particular plane, where you can sit down rather than lie down, and when you've only got 90 minutes, I'd rather sort of sit. But yes, that was nice. And then we landed in Sydney, got a bus to the hotel, and I won't say where it is, but it's a hotel we've stayed in before, but it's had a considerable refit, and I was a bit, reception's moved and the restaurant's moved, and all a bit confusing, really. And then I basically went out for a walk. There's it's really a gadget store. I'm not really quite sure how to describe it. There's a shop called JB Hi-Fi in Australia, and they do sell, music. Well, they sell vinyl, they sell DVDs, CDs, Blu-rays. They sell loads of stuff, and one of the things I like about it is there seems to be a bigger market for DVDs in this country, in Australia, than there is at home. And actually, there's a lot of British shows that are out on DVD here that aren't on DVD at home. So, for example, I own every episode of The Bill. Well, every episode but 3, because there was a 3-parter that for some reason they couldn't put on the Blu-ray, on the DVD set. But anyway, I've got every episode of The Bill apart from those 3, bought on DVD here, and I was just having a look to see if there was anything else I could get my hands on that I fancied, and I did see a complete Doc Martin boxed set featuring all 10 seasons, and I nearly bought it, and then I thought, you haven't actually looked for that at home, because Doc Martin finished just over a year ago, allegedly. I don't think it is coming back, because I think they've dismantled the sets, because the sets were on private property in a barn, so I think they weren't torn down, and then the project, the space wasn't used for other shows in the meantime. I think they were there really for the majority of the years that it was being filmed. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But then I kind of looked, and I can get the same box set at home for actually slightly less money. And the other thing I'm looking for is I'm really bad at getting around to drinking, as in fluids, as in water. And I've got this quite cool thing at home, which is called a Hydrate Spark Pro, which is a smart water bottle that whenever you drink it, drink out of it. It's got like a scale on the bottom, so when you put it down, obviously it knows the weight of water and the density of water, and therefore it knows how much you've drunk whenever you place it on a flat surface since the last time. And so it tracks and it reminds you. It's got a flashing base that reminds you to drink. And the one I've got isn't really big enough. It's only sort of 600 mils, but you can get a 1 litre one now. It's almost a litre. It's something weird like 941 mils. And that seemed like a really good idea because one of the reasons I don't take it with me very often is that I just feel, well, a few gulps and that's done. The new one also is, the old one was just basically a tube and did nothing to insulate and keep something at temperature, whereas the new one is actually a thermos type arrangement, so it keeps the fluid cold as well, and it's a litre. So basically I looked at it to try to buy one and discovered that the one I want is available in lots of places like the Apple Store and so on, but you have to order it. They don't stock it as regularly, so you have to either order it and to pick up from the store, and obviously that's no use to me when I'm only in Australia for one day. The other thing I did was I went and looked in the Lego store and looked at the Blacktron spaceship because they've released a reimagining of an old Lego model, a bit like the old Galaxy Explorer. If you're a geek like me, you'll know which Lego model that is. It's wonderful. But it was from when I wasn't into space Lego. And to be honest with you, I am looking to buy some more classic space Lego. But what they did was they effectively, at this point in the Lego space Lego history, they divided the sets into the good guys, Futron, and the bad guys, Blacktron. And I never really understood that. And if I continue to collect beyond the classic space range and into the Futron and Blacktron years, I will probably only buy the Futron because they still look like the regular space Lego type things that I was interested in. Anyway, as well as that, I've done lots of reading through of chapter 41, and I'm hoping to be able to do a paper edit at some point when I'm in Singapore. Well, I'm going to have to do it at some point when I'm in Singapore, or I won't get the chapter signed off. But it's shaping up very well. I like the story it tells. Anyway, I'm trying to get better at keeping this to 6 minutes. I've nothing more I really need to say. My voice is only a little bit croaky because I've only just sort of woken up from one of my more successful attempts to doze. But anyway, thank you for listening. I'll be back at some point tomorrow. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.